Welcome to the handover video for the 50th anniversary Weinsberg Carabus camper van. We'll start on the outside of the vehicle and work our way round to the front. So, starting with the toilet cassette hatch, you'll notice that it has magnets which keep it up to stop it dropping on your head or on your arm as you're removing the cassette. The cassette is removed by lifting the blue lever here and withdrawing the cassette. It comes out very easily. If the cassette doesn't come out easily, then go back inside and check that the blade has been completely closed. The blade engages with this little blue lever here. As you put the cassette in, that slides back, and when you turn the handle for the blade inside the bathroom, that happens. It opens and closes the diaphragm into the cassette. If that is in that position, if it hasn't been closed completely, then obviously you can't remove the cassette. Hence, if you do feel resistance when you try to take it out, you should put it back. Filler cap, undo that cap, empty out the contents, drop your chemicals back in, add a little bit of water to activate the chemicals, return the cassette into the slot. It goes in with a resounding click, and you can see that it's back in place and ready for use. While we're down here, this is the grey water tank that collects the water from the shower tray and from the kitchen sink. To drain that, this handle here is turned through 45 degrees. The waste material comes out. Drive over a soak away a campsite to drain from there. So, continuing down the side of the van, the next thing you see is the exhaust vent for the boiler, the trimmer boiler, and gases from there will come out. This window is directly above, so any gases coming out from that vent could go into that window. Hence the reason there's a little safety catch there. If this window is open, there's a pin there that pops out and will stop the boiler from functioning. So close the window and the boiler will function. Window open, the boiler won't. It's just a safety feature. Down here we have the fuel point. Diesel in there obviously. AdBlue below. Now there is no AdBlue gauge on the vehicle. What you do get is a warning light that comes on 1200 miles from empty, so that's plenty of time for you to top up the AdBlue. If you don't top it up, the light will then start to flash a warning, and at that point it's becoming important that you do top up, because the vehicle will go to limp mode thereafter. Underneath the passenger seat you will find the toolbox. Under the floor of the vehicle is the battery. Now it's quite difficult to access because you have to undo all of these retaining screws to access it. So Fiat have given you 2 remote posts for jump starts should that be required. They're under the bonnet, which is where we'll go next. To go under the bonnet, pop the lever and then round to the front of the vehicle. After you've released the bonnet to the first catch, in the centre of the bonnet you'll find another lever, the yellow one there, and that allows you to release the bonnet completely. Over on the far left hand side is the fill point for the windscreen wash. Next one along is the coolant, and beside that is the brake fluid. Now you can't get to the fill point for the coolant without undoing that panel there. The 3 screws turn through 90 degrees, that section lifts out, and that will allow you to fill the coolant. The brake fluid you can clear and fill from the top. That is your oil filler point, and you'll notice there is no dipstick. It's an electronic dipstick, and the oil level will be indicated on the dashboard, similar to an ordinary car where if your oil pressure is low, a red light comes on. With this, not only does your red light come on if your oil pressure is low, it'll actually tell you at a glance how much oil you have in the vehicle. This is the remote post for jump starting I was talking about. That is the earth, and down there under this plastic flap you'll find the positive. To access that, you take the vehicle key and you pop it into the slot there that releases the catch, and up it comes, and that silver paddle is where you attach the positive terminal from your battery jump pack. Also under the bonnet you'll find the vehicle identification plate. On the driver's door you have the controls for your electric adjustments on the mirrors, windows and internal central locking position or button. So, adjusting your mirrors. You have 4 mirrors, 2 on each side. And we look down at the control, the circle is off. The first position is for the large mirror on the driver's door. Second position is for the small mirror. The third position is for the small mirror on the passenger door. That's the large mirror on the passenger door, and that's back to off. Once you have selected a mirror to adjust, moving this joystick will adjust the mirror in whatever position, or into whatever position works best for you. On this side of the steering column is the windscreen wiper controls, adjustments for angling your head beam. That is for switching on your fog lights, and that's for switching off the hill start assist. And finally, on the outside of the vehicle, the water fill point. You have 2 keys with your vehicle, one for Fiat and one for Weinsberg. The Weinsberg key opens both the lock on the toilet cassette and on the water fill. To fill the water tank, all you have to do is put the key in there, open it, it comes off like a petrol cap, and you put in a garden hose and away you go. Now, to drain your fresh water tank, there are some taps that you undo inside, and those taps have to be closed before you fill the tank, otherwise the water will go in and just pour out the bottom. I'll show you those taps next. The first of those taps is below the water tank itself, and it's in the garage space under the bed in the vehicle on the driver's side. It's that green valve there. In this position, it's running across the way, it's horizontal, it's closed, you can fill the tank with water. If you turn it to the vertical, it opens the valve and the tank will drain. The second tap is in the bottom cupboard underneath the sink area, and you can see it there. This tap allows the water to drain from the pipes leading up to the kitchen sink, and you just open it anti-clockwise as you would do any tap, and that will drain the water out of the system. To fill the tank with water, that must be in the closed position. The third and final tap is underneath the forward-facing seats in the dinette area, and it is that black box with the blue tap on the top of it. This is also the frost protection valve. When the temperature, the ambient temperature inside the van falls below 3 degrees Celsius and there is the danger of frost and damage to your pipes, this valve will automatically open and dump water out of both your boiler and the fresh water tank. To reset it and to set it in a position where you can fill with water, the blue tap here must be again in the horizontal position, running in line with this pipe here, which is the water flow from the boiler to the taps. And on this side, out of view, but you can feel it, there's a little blue button that pops out when this has been activated by cold weather. So I'll just activate it now. There's a blue button round the back, which I don't know if, oh yes, you can see it there. So to reset, I would turn this back so, and come round this side and push in the blue button. We're now ready to start filling the boiler. While I'm here, I can show you the gas isolation valve. The top one is for the boiler, and the bottom one is for the stove, for the cooker. So if you smell gas from your cooker, you can isolate the cooker from the gas network by putting that switch into that position, and then you can carry on using gas in your boiler to heat your hot water and have showers, and you just have to eat in the pub until you get back home and you can get an engineer to come and have a look at your cooker or bring it into someone like ourselves. With all 3 taps closed, you can then fill your freshwater tank with water. And here you can see on the control panel, which I've switched the master switch on, I've now pressed this button here and it's indicating the state of play with the freshwater tank. So we have a full freshwater tank now, and we have a fully charged vehicle battery, and we also have a fully charged leisure battery. So back to the freshwater tank. Water tank is full. So now we can switch on the water pump and we can open a hot water tap. Now you see there's no water coming out because there's nothing in the boiler. But the water pump has now been activated and it will start drawing water into the boiler. It's starting to draw out now. Now this isn't a continuous flow just yet, but you can hear and see there's a lot of air coming out. You leave that tap open until you get continuity of flow of the water here. Once you have continuity of the flow there, you come over to your sink and similarly open the tap. And so here there is no water coming through. So we'll keep that closed until we get water coming through here. And once we have a continuous flow of water from both taps, you know that your boiler has been charged and is full of water, and then we can switch it on to start heating up the water. And I'll show you how to do that next. So once the boiler has been charged, you should have continuous water flowing from kitchen and bathroom taps alike. There we go. That means your boiler is now fully charged. Having the master switch on first to supply 12 volts to the control panel, we can now switch on the control panel. Six squares illuminated, everything is ready to go. So let's start with the hot water, as we've been talking about water. We'll switch on the hot water. Status currently hot water is switched off, so we'll switch it on. You have got 2 temperatures for hot water, 40 degrees Celsius, which is fine for doing the dishes, and 60, which is fine for showering. Energy source, your choice of fuel, you can either run hot water on gas or on electric. Now, we're currently plugged into electric hookup, so if I select 1800 watts and switch the gas off, I'll only be using electricity. On a campsite, when you're booked in, you're not metered on your electric. You only pay to have the electric. How much you use is entirely up to you. So don't waste your gas. Save running your hot water on gas if you are off-grid and there is nowhere to plug in for an electric supply. Most modern campsites will be fine with you drawing 1800 watts. On an older campsite, you might have to use only 900 watts. Doesn't make the water any hotter, it just gets there quicker. So we'll choose 1800 watts. We'll now return back to the main screen, and you can now see we have a green line here indicating the hot water is switched on. Nothing else is switched on. It's the only one with the green line. When the hot water has reached temperature, now you see on the screen here I've selected 60 degrees, the word ready will appear here in green once you have reached 60 degrees. So that's how you use your hot water. So let's go back in and we'll switch it off. There's the on-off button. Off, back to the main screen, and you see the hot water is showing 0. Right, let's look at the heating next. Press that button. Room climate, heating and ventilating. Now, there is a fan that blows the hot air around the vehicle when you are running the heating. When you're not running the heating, that fan can be used as a vent. It is not air conditioning, goes up to 10, the fan speed. It isn't air conditioning. It won't make the air cooler. What it will do is just move the air around. So on a hot day, that can sometimes help. Right, so it's Scotland, it's cold. Let's put the heating on. We press the heating button. We now have temperature choice. So we're currently at 30, which is the maximum temperature you can set it at. So if I press the minus sign, it will take us down. Let's select, say, 25 degrees or 22. Currently using electricity as our source, but we could use gas instead. But why use gas when you're running on the electric, as I explained when we were talking about the water? You can use both together. It won't get any hotter, it will just get there quicker, and you'll use up your gas. So we'll leave it on electric. And let's go back to the home screen. And you see fast and comfort. Now comfort gets you up to the temperature at a sedate pace, and the fans will only come on once you've reached that temperature, and it will start to circulate that air. If you go for fast, if you have hot water and heating on at the same time, it will sacrifice the hot water, and your hot water won't heat up. All the energy will go to the boiler to produce the heat to heat the room. Doesn't get any hotter, just gets there quicker. So we'll leave it on comfort. We're on electricity, and we'll go back to the home screen, and you can now see that we have a green line at the top, and we have 22 degrees indicated there, and that is the room heating. Let's go back and switch the room heating off. Takes it back to the home screen with no green lights. iNet app. If you choose to, you can operate everything on here from an app on your phone. You have to download the app from the wherever, if you're an iPhone, from the App Store, from the Google Store if you have an Android. Notifications. In days gone by, if something went wrong, you got an error code and you had to go to an engineer who would diagnose the fault from the error code and sort it out for you. Now, notifications come in plain English. So if something goes wrong, inside notifications, you'll get an alert on the screen, press notifications, and it will tell you in plain English what's wrong. That will allow you to explain to an engineer who will then be able to diagnose the fault and tell you what to do to repair. Let's go back home. Settings. In settings, general settings will allow you to adjust the brightness of the screen, the language of the display, do a factory reset, calibrate the touch. If you find you're touching a button and it doesn't work, go into touch calibration, and there'll be lots of little crosses that you have to touch all over the screen, which will set up and calibrate the screen. Rarely will you have to go in there. And date and time, as the name suggests, you can set the date and time in there. The time is wrong, so I'll leave it, and the date's wrong as well. I'll leave it, and on the day of handover, you can experiment with that and see how it works. Back to the home screen, and finally, to turn things off, press, you can either go to standby, make the panel go to sleep so the light's not on, keep you awake at night, or you can turn it off. Once the screen goes completely blank, you can switch the power off here as well. Just press and hold. Now, that little green light indicates we're plugged into mains electricity. When you're switching on your system, you must always switch this one on first and allow it to do what it's just done there. Everything lights up and then it goes dark again. Do that before you switch this panel on. The first thing this panel does as it starts to initialize is it goes looking for a 12-volt supply. If it doesn't find a 12-volt supply, it shuts down and comes up with a warning. When you switch off, you have to do the same thing in reverse. Switch this off by doing that and that. Wait till the screen goes completely blank, because all this while it's still using the 12-volt supply. If suddenly you switch off the 12-volt supply before this has gone to a completely black stage, you'll get the same error code coming up. And press and hold. Light switches in the vehicle only operate when the 12-volt supply is on, because these run off the leisure battery. You have a 12-volt cigarette style socket there. 230-volt socket there, which obviously only works when you're plugged into mains, and a USB charging point here. This is the temperature sensor for the room. Please be careful, don't knock it or break it. That controls the thermostat that switches your heating on and off during the course of an evening to keep your temperature constant. The fridge operation is very, very simple. It's a 12-volt compressor fridge with a dial at the back. The further around you have it, the colder the fridge will be. You can turn it all the way back to 0 and then click off. The fridge is switched off. I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to leave it on half, and overnight that fridge will come down to temperature. I've had this on for testing and it's only been on for an hour and the fridge is already cold, but I'll leave it on overnight so it's ready on Monday for your handover, Ian. And that will prove that the fridge is working. Gas, very simple. Once you've turned the gas on, and you turn the gas on like this, we go to the gas locker in the rear of the vehicle, undo the two catches, open the gas locker, and whichever gas bottle has been connected, you turn this brass valve anti-clockwise as far as it will go and then back a notch. Your vehicle is fitted with a crash safe regulator. You see this black circle in the middle? That is a button that will pop out in the event of an accident. It's demonstrated on this little sticker there. So if you're involved in an impact, that button pops out. To reset, because sometimes even just going over a pothole will fool the sensor into thinking, it will sense that vibration, thinks you've been in an accident, cuts off the gas for safety reasons. So you can leave the gas on all the time. Just keep an eye on that little button. If you find there's no gas coming through, come and check. If that button is in and the gas is switched on and you're not getting any flame at the cooker, then the chances are your gas bottle is empty. While we're in the back switching the gas on, I'll just show you the location of your leisure battery. Ian, you don't have to go anywhere near this. It just looks after itself. There is additional storage above it if you wish to use it, but it's in the back garage space behind that little door there. Once you have the gas turned on at source, you can ignite the cooker. Press the dial down, turn it to max, press the igniter button, hold the button down just a few seconds to allow the thermocouple to heat up, and then you can release the gas. To light the other ring, you do exactly the same, but you just push this one down and turn it, then press that button. The flame will ignite, and after a few seconds you can release the button and you can turn it down to peak back up to max. There is no safety cutout on the lid. If you drop the lid down on top of the glass flame, the flame won't go out, it will continue to burn, and this will eventually shatter. So please be very careful when operating the gas, and after you've finished, don't close the lid until the heat has dissipated from the two burners. Finally, to the cab operation. We've already discussed the controls that are down on the driver's door and on the driver's side of the steering wheel. We have controls on the steering wheel for cruise control on this side and your radio and your onboard computer on this side. Cruise control, very simple, pressing this button while traveling once you have the ignition on. If you press this button, you'll see the symbol come on the dashboard. There it is, next to the wee symbol showing that the doors are open on the vehicle. Switch it off, switch it on. Now this arms the cruise control. Cruise control will then kick in after you have pressed either the plus or the minus button there. I'll just turn the radio down. The pressing the button will increase or decrease the speed of the cruise control by 1 mile per hour. If you're cruising along at 60 and come to dual carriageway and you want to increase your speed to 70, just press and hold the plus button. You'll see the speed start to climb. When you reach 70, release it and you'll stay there, and similarly press there, the speed will come back down till you reach 60, release it and you'll stay there. To cancel cruise control, hit any of the pedals, either the brake or the accelerator. Press the cancel button or switch the cruise control back off again. Limiter is the same, but it's a top speed. So if you put the limiter on, it appears on screen next to the wee red symbol again, and then by pressing plus and minus you can set a speed, and that becomes your top speed, and the vehicle will climb. It's not cruise control, so if you take your foot off the accelerator you'll slow down, but you gently put your foot on the accelerator to start to speed up. If you've set your limiter at 20, when you reach 20, no matter how further you push the accelerator pedal down, you will not go any faster than 20. Over to the left hand side, toggle buttons left, right, up and down to take you through the menu on the dashboard. There's speedometer, trip B, trip A. Once you've reached a menu that you want to enter, you can press OK to enter, then you can negotiate your way around the menu. It also operates the hands-free phone system through your radio. So pressing this button here activates voice command, where you would tell your phone, dial home, phone John, Mary, whatever. You can accept a phone call by just pressing that button. You can end a phone call by pressing that button. The microphone for the hands-free phone is up here in the corner, and the audio comes through the speakers in the door of the radio. The radio is a DAB FM AM radio. There is a full manual to accompany it. Every radio is different. I advise you read the manual and then pre-program the radio with your own personal choices. I'm going to start the engine now. You put your foot on the brake and the vehicle in park. Being an automatic, it'll only change gear when you have your foot on the brake and you push in the button at the back of the gear knob, take it down to reverse, and instantly the reversing camera engages. Come down to neutral and the camera goes off. Drive, and you get a D on the dashboard and a 1, figure 1. So we're in first gear in automatic drive. It's a 9-speed automatic box, and as you drive, that D1 on the dashboard, which you can see there, it's just showing D at the moment, but as you drive it will go through all the different gears. Now, should you decide to use the semi-automatic function, you push the gear lever over to the left and you'll see the plus and the minus have now illuminated, and over here on the dashboard the D has disappeared. If I come back over here now, by flicking down once I go into first gear. I flick down again, I'm now up in second. If I flick again, I'll go back down. It works as the vehicle is moving. You'll be able to see the different gears you're in. Pushing the gear lever back over to the right, D for drive is engaged, and you're now fully automatic. You'll only ever want to come over here if you're on very soft boggy ground on a campsite and you don't want the vehicle to change up a gear and start getting wheel spin. You just want to stay in a low gear and get out of the muddy campsite, but that's the very odd occasion that will happen. Back up to park. You have different drive modes. Come over here, you'll see as I press that button, drive mode, you have normal, power and eco, and they do exactly what they say on the tin. Power gives you more torque, more speed, accelerates faster. Normal is standard driving conditions, and eco, if you're cruising, you'll use less fuel if you go into eco, but you don't have as much acceleration. So it'll be a case of just getting used to the vehicle and driving in the position that best suits your driving style and technique. 12 volt power supply and USB and USB-C points run off the vehicle battery at the front. The ones in the rear run off the leisure battery. Standard Fiat Ducato air conditioning. This dial, outer dial, direction of airflow. Is it going to be air coming in from outside, or are you going to recycle the air in the cab? Over on this side, temperature, down to cold, fan speeds, Air conditioning only works when the fan's running, and then you have quick defrost when you go all the way up to number 4. Hazards. Now, there's no rear screen, you know, the defrost from the rear screen. However, it's still wired to your 2 wing mirrors. So on cold days, if you engage that button, it will demist the mirrors to make driving a whole lot safer. Hazards, internal locking, anti-skid on off, and a warning light if you ever disable the passenger airbag, which is done with a key on the side of the dashboard. Down here there's a USB lead which you connect your phone to, and then sit your phone in that groove, and then through either Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, on the screen here you'll have access to certain apps. Not all apps. There are safety features built into your phone that will stop you watching films on YouTube while you're driving, but you will be able to get Google Maps or Apple Maps up on your screen and use that as your sat nav. And that concludes your tour of your new van. Ian, can I wish you all the best on behalf of the team here at Highland Camper Vans. Thank you for your business, and may you have many, many happy miles and smiles creating memories in your new camper van. Thank you for watching.